Ruth Langsford had always been known as the calm one, the steady hand, the level head, the person who could hold everything together even on days when life tried its hardest to knock things off balance. To viewers, she was warm, reassuring, and endlessly patient. At home, beside her husband, Eamonn Holmes, she carried that same strength, but with a softness only he ever truly saw. Yet even the strongest hearts can tremble. Recent months had pushed the Holmes household into emotional territory they never asked for. Eamonn's health had been unpredictable, full of ups and downs, appointments and check-ins, hopeful days and worrying ones. And while Eamonn tried to face it with his trademark humor, that didn't make the weight on Ruth's shoulders any lighter. Through all of it, she kept herself composed. On screen, she laughed, teased, and delivered the calm energy viewers loved. Off screen, she handled schedules, conversations, and late-night worries. Friends saw her trying to balance it all, gracefully but quietly. Because Ruth wasn't the type to fall apart in public. She preferred to keep her storm inside. But storms, even quiet ones, can still break. One afternoon, after a long stretch of emotionally draining days, Ruth reached a point she hadn't expected. It happened not in front of cameras, not in a meeting, not even in a moment of dramatic crisis, just a simple, ordinary moment that finally caught up with her. She sat beside Eamonn, his hand resting in hers, his smile a little tired but still trying. And something inside her, something she'd been holding together with sheer willpower, gently slipped. She didn't wail, didn't collapse, didn't make a scene. She just let the tears come. It was a quiet unraveling, a very human one. Those present said Ruth leaned close, her voice softer than usual, telling Eamonn things meant only for him. Words of love, fear, hope, and all the feelings she had kept tightly locked behind the image of the strong one. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to be vulnerable, truly vulnerable. It wasn't dramatic, it was real. Eamonn, despite everything he'd been going through, tried to steady her with a grin that was more playful than strong. Even now, he couldn't resist making a joke about how he'd only planned to cause a tiny bit of chaos, not an emotional meltdown. And it worked. Ruth laughed through tears, which somehow made the moment sweeter, almost cinematic. But beneath the humor, there was something deeper. A reassurance in the way he looked at her. A silent message that said, "I'm still here. I'm still me. And we're still us." For a couple who had built years of partnership on witty banter and affectionate teasing, this softer exchange felt like a reminder of just how strong their bond truly was. They'd faced career changes, public attention, disagreements, and unexpected life turns. Yet this moment, stripped of everything except love and fear, revealed a truth many forget. Even the strongest people need someone to lean on. Friends later described Ruth as exhausted, emotionally and physically, but still trying her hardest to keep life running smoothly for both of them. She'd spent long nights worrying, long days caring, and longer weeks juggling everything at once. Her emotional break wasn't weakness, it was love reaching its limit. And ironically, that vulnerability only showed how deeply she cared. Ruth had always been the protector, the planner, the one with all the answers. But this time, she needed someone to remind her she didn't always have to be perfect. And Eamonn, even in his less steady moments, stepped up in the way he only could, with gentle humor, small reassurances, and a stubborn refusal to let fear steal their connection. People who saw them during this period said Ruth was exhausted, emotionally and physically, but still trying her hardest to keep life running smoothly for both of them. She'd spent long nights worrying, long days caring, and longer weeks juggling everything at once. Her emotional break wasn't weakness, it was love reaching its limit. And ironically, that vulnerability only showed how deeply she cared. Ruth had always been the protector, the planner, the one with all the answers. But this time, she needed someone to remind her she didn't always have to be perfect. And Eamonn, even in his less steady moments, stepped up in the way he only could, with gentle humor, small reassurances, and a stubborn refusal to let fear steal their connection. People who saw them during this period said there was a softness between them that felt different from their usual playful energy. More hand-holding, more quiet smiles, more moments where they simply breathed together without needing to say anything at all. Their relationship wasn't suddenly flawless or dramatic, it was beautifully human. As news of Ruth's emotional moment reached fans, something unexpected happened. Instead of wild speculation or gossip, people reacted with compassion. The public saw not presenters, not television personalities, but two people who loved each other deeply and were facing uncertainty together. Messages poured in, messages of kindness, reassurance, and respect. And it mattered, because behind the polished smiles and cheerful broadcasts, Ruth was still fighting the same fears any spouse would feel. She wasn't worried about ratings or headlines. She was worried about the person who had shared her mornings, her jokes, her victories, and her private struggles for so many years. Her emotional moment wasn't a farewell. It wasn't surrender. It was the kind of outpouring that happens when someone has been strong for too long and finally lets love speak louder than strength. And in a strange way, it brought them closer. Eamonn continued to push forward, doing everything he could to stay positive, to stay himself. He joked when he felt well enough, teased the nurses, tried to keep Ruth smiling, and reminded her that their story wasn't nearing an ending, just entering a tougher chapter, but one they would face together. Ruth, renewed by support from friends, fans, and Eamonn himself, gradually found her footing again. She wasn't magically stress-free or endlessly confident, but she learned to let others support her too. She realized that being strong didn't mean being unbreakable. And sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is admit they need comfort. Their home slowly returned to feeling lighter. More laughter slipped back into the air. More teasing about who stole whose snacks. More warm moments where Eamonn would catch Ruth staring at him with that mixture of love and exasperation that only comes from decades of partnership. It wasn't perfect. Life never is. But they were rediscovering the joy in small things, something couples often forget to appreciate until life gives them reason to pause. In the end, Ruth's emotional moment didn't define them. It revealed them. It brought forward the humor, loyalty, devotion, and honest love that had always existed behind their public charm. And for everyone watching their journey from afar, it served as a reminder that even strong hearts can need support, even bright smiles can hide fears, and even long-standing relationships can still grow deeper in unexpected ways. Their story continues, hopeful, imperfect, loving, and beautifully human. And for anyone hearing their story today, it stands as a quiet encouragement to cherish the people who stand beside you, hold tight to the ones who make you laugh even on difficult days, and never underestimate the strength found in simply caring deeply. If you enjoyed this emotional journey and want more stories like this, stories of strength, love, humor, and real human moments, make sure to follow along for the next chapter.